Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, December 20th. Holy cow. Only 4 days left till Christmas Eve, 5 days left to Christmas. Where in the heck did the year go? On that note, let's go ahead and welcome everybody into the audience that we have out in the chat right now. That's right. If you join the chat and say, hey, I'll do a shout out to you at the start of every one of our shows. Who the heck do we have out there? Well, let's take a look and see. We've got Amiga Rules, Andy W's here along with Bradley. We got Brains, Christine Lynn, and Craig Smith is around. Good to see you, my friends. Eric Roth and the Gurus along with Firefly and Frank Rapp is in the audience. We've got Geraldine DeRazio. Hurrah for John is out there along with Ian Hernandez and Kathy. Let's see. Who else is out there? King Bull. Good to see you, my friend. Meninopolis, Ms. Cussout, and Peggy and Steve all the way from Miami. Good to see you two out there. We got Rainbow, Metal Gaming 420 just showed up along with Rodney Cox, Sam, Super Unknown, the Wastelands out there along with our dear friends. Two midgets on a horse on vacation somewhere? Yeah, why not? Everyone deserves to go on vacation, especially where it's warmer and sunnier, hopefully. Could be raining there too. On that note, let's go ahead and jump in studio and say hi to our dear friend. Mike, how the hell are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing well, and it seems like we're going to have another interesting show today. Different things to talk about.
Oh, yes. As Disclosure dies on the vine.
For a while now.
Oh, and it's getting worse. Even people who are involved with the intelligence community. The tweet we'll be covering shortly. One of the people who's been in this for the longest time as well, saying that talking to his sources and different people that he works with are saying, ask him, go talk about something else. Yeah, it's kind of get to that point. The government cover-up is in overtime, Mike.
Yeah. Everyone needs to go and get busy elsewhere.
Yep.
Well, we've known this for some time. We've been dealing with this with the shutdown of Disclosure. All of 2024 was a dead year. And we hope for it to be better this year. And now we're at the end of this year, and it looks like it's getting into the same thing for next year.
Yeah.
Dead. Unfortunately. I wish that wasn't the case.
Deader than a doornail, my friend.
I know.
Yeah.
It's really a shame that this is where we're at.
Deader than some things that I can't talk about, so.
Oh, that's true too, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's have some fun with this, folks. Let me make sure, where did the audience go? I need to turn the audience on. Got to welcome him in. Turn the auto chat on. Here we go. We're all being sold a bill of goods by Congress. They're hiding the truth as well. You know, honestly, King Bull, it really sounds like the overall the Congress at this point. Yeah, they're getting lied to. But really, Mike, the truth of the matter is Congress doesn't have the ability to bring out disclosure. That was even brought out recently by Eric Burleson. Whether you believe him or not, he's in the trenches with David Grusch. And if he's saying the only way we're going to be getting disclosure is going to be coming from a whistleblower with actual evidence, not just saying things, coming from the President of the United States, or potentially coming from another foreign leader. So it's an interesting time to say the least, Mike.
Oh, it has been. And well, look, you've been saying for years now that disclosure is only going to come from the top down. It's got to come from the President of the United States. So we're not going to get it out of Congress or the executive branch. It's just not going to happen. So, and
it's all locked up from the executive branch, from some kind of military industrial complex that's part of the executive branch, if you want to call it the fourth branch of government, Mike, that wasn't elected by anybody, but apparently they're over the President of the United States. It's a harrowing situation, to say the least.
It's unfortunate because it's getting in the way of the truth moving forward. And it's almost like they were actually able to put the genie back in the bottle after David Grusch testified.
No. Putting the genie back in the bottle happened after the first UAPTF hearing. That's when the DoD came out and they announced the continuation of the UAP task force. They initially called it the AOI-MSG, whatever the hell that stood for. I don't remember at this point in time. But there weren't going to be regular pulses of information or updates for the public. It's primarily going to be a DoD intelligence agency, and we're done with it. But at that point, that's when the word was coming out, Mike, that the Air Force and the DoD is literally trying to stuff the genie back in the bottle. And at that time, 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago at this point, we thought there was no way in hell of that happening.
Right, that's true. It's something that, we didn't expect it to go the way that it's been going. And it doesn't look like we're going to be getting any real answers from anybody anytime soon.
Oh, God, no. RO is not our only hope to disclosure. What are you, part of the IC, no. My friend? That sounds like a disinformationist. Boo in the audience. Yes, you're teasing. I hope so, Monopolis.
Yeah, it's got to be a joke.
You got to have fun with it.
Thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, starting off our top story today that we have on our headline. Luckily, we were able to find it. We've got a new exclusive coming from good old Matt Laszlo, who we're a proud supporter of over at askapoluaps.com. Encourage our audience to go ahead and help support this guy. Doesn't cost much a month, but you know what? He could use it. Mike, I think Matt Laszlo is the only really serious reporter on the beat in Washington, D.C., who's trying to track down the people in Congress to figure, and the House and the Senate, to figure out where this is going.
He's embedded directly in the halls of Congress like they are. He's right with them. So yeah, he's the only one doing that. Plus, his subscription plan was $9 a month. He lowered it to $5. So it's a really good time of year if people are interested in following.
It was at $5. It may be back up to $10, but I know he's got a 10% off sale for the holidays. Either way, it's not that much.
No, today he lowered it to $5 again for everybody.
Poor guy. Poor guy. We'll have to get him back again.
A hell of a scoop that he broke.
Oh, let's go ahead and bring this up. Here we go. Oh, let me fix the videos or the size of the screen so we can go ahead and see it. All right. Sorry about that. Coming from Askapol UAP's scoop. A new whistleblower is sharing info with a congressional UAP caucus. Representative Eric Burleson exclusively tells Askapol UAP. Got to remember, Mike, Matt got in a tiff with Anna Polina Luna, which is really easy to do, apparently, and she is no longer disclosing anything to Matt or the public anymore. She shut it down.
Oh, that's true. She got into a tiff with us, too, because we called her out for her bullshit. So that's actually, it's a good thing, in my opinion, not a bad thing. Good.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So let's get into the scoop. A new whistleblower is sharing. Let's go ahead and see what I can do. Let's get the audio up. And we got the picture there. I want to get the audio going. I can't get it both. I can get it both at the same time. I'm talented. Let's bring this up here again. Show this all the picture as we get the audio that goes along with it. It's great. Matt got a better microphone. All right. Oh, God. He's even there with the guy from Joe Cahill from News Nation.
Yeah, he is.
And he says, just outside the Capitol, Representative Eric Burleson listens to News Nation's Joe Cahill, who is a close friend and compadre of Askapol UAP's partner in UAP crime at the Capitol. Great going, Matt. Let's go ahead and play this audio and see where it takes us, folks. I think we got to start about 28 seconds in. Here we go.
In the dream. Yeah. How are you doing, sir? Live in the dream.
Yeah.
Did you hear back on any of those interrogatories?
We haven't heard back.
No. Are you going to redouble that effort in the new year, or something?
We're doing it right now. Like, I'm having my team do a reassessment of like what we've accomplished, where we're at, what things are left to do, or what strings we need to pull. So I'm asking for Grusch to kind of put together that end of year, synopsis, because.
You know, Mike, that's a great idea. Going back, looking over the past year of 2025, where it went, where it didn't go, what they wanted to get done, what they didn't get done. You think that Eric Burleson would go ahead and share that information? Probably not.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But they're going to try to figure out all of this for this year, because next year they're going to have an idea of what direction they're going in and what they can and cannot do. So,
Exactly. Let's continue on a bit more. Here we go.
A lot is, I mean, it's just kind of swimmy in tons of things.
is he still going to be understaffed next year? How'd that go?
At this time, I mean, we'll be into next year. I don't know how far, but
Into next year, I don't know how far, but you hear that stall that he had? Let me just rewind a little bit getting into this. He just really hemmed and hawed on that. Let's listen again.
Is he still going to be understaffed next year? How'd that go?
at this time, I mean, we'll be into next year. I don't know how far, but it all depends on if we have other hearings that we need to be prepped for and things like that.
So 6 stammers on that, Mike.
Oh, yeah. That's a dead giveaway, in my opinion.
So maybe if they're going to have another hearing now, Representative Gallego, I believe from Wisconsin, went and actually said, yes, we want to have another hearing next year. But if we look back at what Representative Tim Burchett from the great state of Tennessee has been saying, why have another hearing? If we're not going to do anything, and if we're going to have another hearing, we actually need physical evidence.
Right. So he said that even if they could put a hearing together, there's really no point. And he's right. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that was Burleson hemming and hawing over the fact that Grusch is probably not going to be around much longer in 2026.
Right, exactly. That's why we said soon, because it doesn't seem like he's got much more time. Let's play this again and play the rest of it. Here we go.
At this time, I mean, we'll be into next year. I don't know how far, but it all depends on if we have other hearings that we need to be prepped for and things like that.
I heard a second hearing was in the works at the end of this year, beginning of next.
Potentially. Right now we're focused on getting some people behind, in a skiff, who might feel comfortable talking, who would not be comfortable at this time going public. There's one person that's a new whistleblower that we have a lead on that might go public. And so we can look at that.
Is that wanted a minute to skip first? That's
just whatever they feel comfortable with. So,
did your disclosure documentary had an impact, but are any of your other colleagues mentioning it? Or
I was hoping that it would, but no. It hasn't.
Well, there you go. Firsthand, Mike. The age of disclosure did not move the needle, but more importantly, they've got another whistleblower potentially that they want to bring forward, but he's not sure. That individual's not sure if they want to come forward. Gee, I wonder why.
Well, what I thought was very interesting about his comment is they said that they have a lead to a potential whistleblower who hasn't come out forward. Not that they have an actual whistleblower.
Good point.
Doesn't want to come out publicly. So they didn't even have that, it sounds like to me. They're trying to work on getting connection and communication potentially with that unknown person at this time. It doesn't sound to me like they even are close to having it yet.
Well, they're aware of who the individual is.
But that's about it.
At the time,
Nothing more than that.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see where it goes for sure. Andy, you have your hand up, my friend. What say you?
Yeah, I think, the only issue I have with that, I could see this potential whistleblower being hostile. Not for hostility's sake, but if he's being, if this individual is he or her, whoever they are, is going to be bounced out into being a whistleblower, then I could see them becoming extremely hostile about that.
Yeah, I don't think that what we're talking about is a hostile whistleblower. I mean, we're talking about hostile witnesses that Grusch brought up over almost 2 years ago at this point that they could bring forward that they haven't done yet. But this sounds like someone who's kind of willing to participate, but they're not sure exactly where they want to go. Because if you look what's happened to a lot of whistleblowers, they've lost their jobs, they've lost their ability to have gainful employment in the career of choice. Doesn't mean they can't get a job anywhere or start their own business. It just kind of shows that there's still that stigma that goes along with coming out of someone trying to bring out the truth.
Well, yeah, they lose their security classification. So yeah, if you're in the case of Grusch, obviously it was his breadwinner at the time. He made that conscious decision very, very bravely, I think, to come out. Yeah. End of the day, people have to think, how are they going to put food on their dinner plates?
Yeah.
If they've been doing this kind of job for a long time, getting bounced down to a menial job is a massive step if they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So hopefully we've got people out there, and even if we've got people who listen to this show anonymously, I can say do the brave thing, but it's I'm not the one being asked to make that decision. So
exactly. So I have to ask, Andy, I'm sure some people in the back or some people in the audience may be recognizing that. It looks rather kind of smoggy in Egypt these days with the Great Pyramid over your right shoulder. And it looks like you're staying indoors out of the sandstorm.
Over my right shoulder there.
That's a pillow.
It's a pillow. It's a pillow.
Should have went along with it, my friend. Yes.
You can have the massive one. I'm sat.
Oh, but it did have a look like it was a pyramid behind you and the window frame and the whole bit. But either way.
Yeah, unfortunately, sorry. There we go. I'll make it pyramidal again.
You're fine, my friend. No worries. All right, let's.
Mate, getting old.
Oh, trust me, you're not as old as us. And welcome to the club.
I follow your back problems, and I'm in total agreement with you. I've got the same issues.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Happy days.
Mentioning it, or
I was hoping that it would, but no,
yeah.
it hasn't.
Do you have you guys looked at the Smithsonian archives?
Not yet.
Because aren't there provisions in the NDA that look at the Smithsonian or give them directions?
I don't remember that, but I would have to have a look.
Haven't you?
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Is he confused with the Smithsonian, Mike, and not the National Archives, I think?
Maybe, because I'm not aware, like Burleson, of anything with the Smithsonian Institute being named.
Yeah, exactly.
It has to be National Archives.
It's got to be a miss.
Yep.
And I would say no. I would say Eric Burleson is not a boomer. Mike is not a boomer. I'm not a boomer. Andy's not a boomer. That's for clear. We are proud to be Gen X, my friends.
Yep.
Now, my older brother and the one who passed away, my older sisters, yes, they're all boomers, but not me. Thank God on that one. Here, I think we're just about done with this. Here we go.
Have a good one.
All right, that's it. Yeah, so there we go. There's supposedly, we've got a, if you want to call it, another whistleblower potentially coming forward. Grusch is there through the end of the year to go ahead and write up what happened, what didn't happen, and what's going to be on the agenda for the year ahead. And then, poof, he's gone.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. And they don't have anything solid or concrete moving for disclosure in 2026 when the session resumes. They're trying to figure that out now before the session breaks. And they come across as clueless. No wonder disclosure is dead on the vine. There's nothing going on.
Well, don't forget, if the whistleblowers do come in, Mike, and they go back into the skiff again, and potentially if they talk to RO, all their NDAs are going to be re-upped. They're going to be talking to the DODIG again, or the ICIG, reminded that if they talk about something, they could potentially come under the Espionage Act for revealing secrets that disclose national security.
And possibly face the death penalty.
Oh, yeah. It's not an easy one. It's the same shit that they told the crew of the E2 Hawkeye when they came back after they interacted with the Tic Tac before even David Fravor saw it.
Right. It's a good tactic, and it works, especially with members of the military.
No, time and time again. It certainly does, my friend. Let me get back to here. Let's see what else we've got coming up. Now, one of the things that was over on X that's interesting to say the least is, yes, we've got more pictures coming from Mars, but that means we got more people going ahead and throwing out speculation of what potentially is out there. Now, just throwing it out there for the audience to go ahead and see. You know, remember, everything we're getting from Mars in this particular picture, although it's a video, it's a still image that's being zoomed into. And what they found in the back could be interesting. It might be something. It may not be, but let's go ahead and take a look anyway. Let's bring this up and let's play this little video here and audio off. And you can see they do a zoom in and look at that. It looks like it's a door potentially in the distance. However, that can be
Hold on right there, Thomas.
Yeah.
You see where that door is, that wall? It looks, if you look outside the circle you have up right now, it's not a door in a wall, it's a building. There's sharp edges, 90-degree edges on both corners, and 3 walls that I could see in this picture. That doesn't look naturally occurring to me on Mars, does it? To you? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess we haven't seen. I guess what's missing, Mike, is a link to the original photo that they used to create this video.
Well, maybe, but it still looks like we're looking at a building.
It could be. But you know what? Time will tell what it is. It's just something we've seen a lot of things on Mars that are explainable or unexplainable. Grusch actually looked at this and says it could easily be a fissure of something that we're actually looking at. So, you know, Mars is an interesting place. We know so much more about the surface of Mars, Mike, than we know about the deep oceans on our planet. And you have to say, gee, I wonder why. It's a cover-up.
Oh, yeah. That really is ass backwards.
Yeah.
We should know more about our own backyard than 223 million miles away.
And if Elon Musk is so concerned about people being able to survive a potential cataclysmic event on the surface of the Earth, why hasn't he started going ahead and building facilities underneath the floor of the ocean? That seems to be the safest place on our planet. Ask the aliens.
Well, I think it would be a huge engineering endeavor to attempt to do something like that. And he hasn't even talked about it. Or
of course not.
To do something like that.
Of course not. But sometimes you just have to go ahead and look, what are the obvious things? Hey, even the Russians back in the day were going ahead and looking at using nuclear submarines or some kind of nuclear power craft that could go under the ocean to go ahead and survive those events. So it's something that's, you know, not out of the question. If we could, Manuel Castro in the back has his hand up. Manuel?
Yeah, I was going to mention that they lost contact with one of their spacecrafts above on Mars. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah.
After the 3i Atlas event.
Well, 3i Atlas is still going on. It's came to its closest point on Earth, and it's heading its way out. But heck, even like 8 months ago, Avi Loeb came out and said, yeah, it's most likely a comet, although it's an interstellar object. It is interesting.
Yeah. But they're still trying to see if they can get in contact with the satellite, but who knows what happened to it.
No, and people are saying, has the stream stopped? No. I have 0 dropped frames. We're kicking out at 12,000 kilobytes a second. No, we're fine. We're going good. All right, let's get back into the studios. Let's get into see what else we have to cover. All right, this is an interesting one, folks. Could almost be a great video game as well. Let's bring this up. All right, here we go. So, coming from someone is known that I follow as a subject matter expert, out Christmas shopping and stumbled upon this game. I have to get it. Called Abduction, a weirdly strategic duck kidnapping game.
Oh my God! Really?
Looks fun to me.
Oh, that's a bad taste.
What, Abduction? I love it.
Yeah.
It's a pun. Andy, go ahead.
I remember back in the day there was some game where you like UFOs were abducting cows. Unfortunately, I can't remember what game it was. We're talking back in the 90s. I think it was probably, but yeah.
There was a game that came out from Electronic Arts as well when the App Store was, when we were dealing with iOS like 2.0 or so, and it first opened up, and Electronic Arts had small studios going and creating apps for the iPhone at that time. And they did have something similar to that with UFOs coming and abducting cows, I believe. Interesting.
Yeah, be interesting to find the name of that if anybody can remember.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Now, going on to bigger things here, let's go ahead and get on to this next one here, coming to us from Curiosity to understand the scale of our universe. Take a look at the yellow structure known as a Lankia. It's a web of over 100,000 galaxies. Our entire home galaxy, the Milky Way, with its 300 billion stars, is merely the single red point located on the fringe of this gravitational giant. It just makes you show and makes you understand how small and insignificant we are in the overall scope of things, Mike. Now, one additional theory that came out why they're actually saying that our universe may actually also be contained within a black hole. They're going ahead and looking back and the furthest they possibly can with a Webb telescope at this point. And they're seeing that a lot of the early galaxies are out there are all rotating in a similar direction, kind of pointing to potentially we're in a rotating black hole. Interesting, eh?
It is, if it's true. But how would they determine something like that? Because we already have black holes that exist here with us in the cosmos.
Yeah.
But if we were inside an actual black hole,
you wouldn't be able to see out, which right now is they can't see past a certain edge in the galaxy. Mike, if you could talk about this to the people in the back for a second, I have to hit the library really quick.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I'd like to know how they're able to assemble an image like the one that's up on the screen right now, because it looks like we're looking at from the outside in to what the galaxy it looks like at that vantage point. And I'm assuming that they are probably using all of the telescopes and all of the sensor equipment that we've had out there in space floating around. And they're taking that data and information and they're putting together how this all combines together. But it's just the scope of this is amazing as far as just how massive it is.
Yeah.
What do you think, Thomas, as far as like, how did they get an idea that this is exactly what it looks like?
Computational models, my friend.
Okay.
So they're looking at all the different stuff from all the different distances. They're seeing the stuff as up close. They're seeing the stuff as out far. They're putting it together into an overall image. I would say that's the only way that it could possibly be.
Right. So what is the light where all the suns are, but the blue on the outside of it?
I can say I believe that's it's a large gravitational structure. It's known as the Lankia, and it's a web structure of 100,000 galaxies.
My God, it's breathtaking and frightening at the same time.
Now, some people were complaining tonight, saying, "Hey, your voice is too quiet compared to mine." I believe it was last night. People were complaining your guys' voices was too loud. So you never know how it goes.
No,
but it's something we can adjust on a dime.
Right. Pretty goddamn quickly.
All right. What else do we have going on here? All right. We've got your epic post out there, Mike, saying, will David Grusch be leaving Representative Burleson in 2026? And the answer on that one is a resounding yes. All right. What else do we have going on? Information on that. All right. A little bit away from UFOs and my general feed of different things that are going on. Recently, the Philippines Coast Guard discovered heaps of crushed corals piled on the sea of the floor of the Escondida Sabina Shoal. That's like a coral reef in a section that's kind of like a circular shape. China had the continued swarming for an indiscriminate, illegal, and destructive fishing activities of the Chinese maritime militia in the Western Philippine Sea has caused unprecedented and irreversible damage to the marine environment. China has buried more than 4,600 acres, about 19 square kilometers, or about 10 square miles, of the coral reef in the South China Sea since 2013. Through dredging and landfilling for the construction of so-called artificial islands. The damage caused by the Chinese fishing militia is even worse. According to an AMI-TI report, Chinese vessels harvesting giant clams damaged a record 16,350 square acres, or about 33 square miles of coral reef in the South China Sea. It's bizarre that when China talks about protection of the environment, and they're the ones who are actually destroying, Mike. Are you surprised?
Actually, a little, because based on what you just explained, it sounds like they are purposefully killing their marine biology and their ecosystem. So once that's gone, it's gone. I know with the coral reefs,
we point to there on the coral reefs, but we also have to look at what all these giant megala corporations in the United States are getting ready to do to start going ahead and start harvesting rare earth materials from the bottom of the Pacific. You think this is destruction of an environment? Just wait till they go ahead and start ripping apart the bottom of the Pacific as well. And it's because, you know, these corporations look at it as out of sight, out of mind. We can go ahead and destroy everything. Oh, there's nothing down there. There's no life down there, when in reality there is. Andy, your hand is up, my friend.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to say about this footage is a bit surprising for me is how shallow it is. Right. That's only about 6 or 8 foot deep.
Yeah, that's a shoal. Meaning you actually have areas where you've got a shoal, which is a coral reef that's built up over time, and they're on one of the shoals that they were talking about, showing the destruction that's been taking place.
Yeah, it's just, there's going to be a very shallow hulled boat that's going to get in there to make that destruction. I'm not saying fishing boats. Not, but yeah. They would have to be basically flat bottomed.
They're just going down showing the destruction of what's taken place compared to how it potentially should look.
Yeah, I'd like to see what it actually looked like prior. But yeah, that's hindsight, so
yeah.
Not that I'm on the side of a Chinese fisherman or whatever, but
Oh, gosh, yes, my friend. Now, on an additional scientific note on this one, bring it into it, Massimo brings up common home appliances. You know, we think about the threat of microplastics and everything you get out of drinking out of plastic cups, plastic bottles, and everything else that comes into our particular environment. You know, once plastic gets into the body, Andy, it doesn't leave. It embeds in our brain, our different organs or such. You know, they found now the common home appliances are emitting a toxic ultrafine particles small enough to enter your bloodstream. That's right. A recent study from Ulsan National University in South Korea, published in the Journal of Hazardous Materials on October of 2025, revealed that common household appliances equipped with electric heating coils and brush DC motors, such as toasters, air fryers, and hair dryers, release vast quantities of ultrafine particles, tiny pollutants smaller than 100 nanometers that pose potential risks to indoor air quality and human health. These UFPs are small enough to invade nasal filtration, penetrating deep into the lungs, where they can cross the bloodstream barrier and circulate systemically. The research team, led by Professor Kim, conducted tests in a controlled laboratory chamber mimicking real-use scenarios. So, yeah, all those appliances we've gotten in the kitchen, Mike, that we're all used to, especially air fryers, which probably a majority of our audience has, of course, toasters are toxic to humans. Who would have thought?
Well, not me, because this is something that's been going on for many, many decades. Look at what he says in the second paragraph. The toaster releases 1.73 trillion every minute. Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing.
The Sano culprit was a pop-up toaster, 1.73 trillion UFPs per minute. And just think about that. How long is bread? And that's even without the bread inserted. Just think about all those particles, Mike, that actually get into the bread. Air fryers and traditional hair dryers also produce substantial amounts with particles containing heavy metals like copper, aluminum, silver, iron, and titanium, sourced from the heating elements and motors. These metals are associated with inflammation, cyclotoxicity, and cellular damage. Well, it's just like, what are humans dying of, Mike? We're dying of industrial disease.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The industrial age that began in the 1800s. Now we're paying the price, it seems like, for all of those improvements.
All the modernization of things we've been through, it just seems to be going on and on, Mike. Yes. Fast forward to Save the Dolphins, save the tech world. No, save the dolphins. Yes, I agree completely. Coming up in our next story, let's see what we've got to take a look. Well, EU farmers want to break into EU headquarters. It seems they're not so happy with the EU, the unelected EU leadership going ahead and trying to shut down farmers. They've been crazy. There's been tons of great tractors coming in to go ahead and protest the meeting of the EU. It seems that the people are not that happy with what's going on in Brussels, Mike.
No, they're not. And it looks like they're pushing the police back.
Oh, yeah.
With their farm equipment, their tractors.
They've came in and also on the streets of Brussels, Mike, they have been dropping tons of potatoes all over the roads.
Oh, that's a waste of produce.
Oh, I know, but they're basically saying you screw with us, you're screwing with the European food supply, but it seems like that unelected leadership has really got their hands on it to go ahead and, destroy what made Europe great a long time ago.
Well, weren't you and I talking about the other day that they were doing something similar to this, like in Germany? They were dumping manure, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. They were dumping manure a couple days ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they just weren't dumping it. They had spreaders. They were spraying it up through the buildings, up onto the windows, over the barriers that were erected. Yeah.
Yep. Now, that's a statement. Someone that came up with that idea, hats off to them.
Yeah. Now, heading back to the good old ufology where we like to talk when there's news to get into it, Mike, we've got some information coming from Richard Geldrich. Let's see if I can make this a little bit smaller. And he's got a system that he's been going ahead and plugging in. And it basically comes back for some of his stuff that he's talking about, making it a little bit smaller so the audience can see it. If the executive branch of the United States is neither fully informed nor exercises authority over the UAP reality, then yes, what you describe is not merely a failure of constitutional governments, but evidence of a parallel power structure operating outside of democratic legitimacy. That conclusion is not radical. It is the logical endpoint of the evidence trail. One, the Friedman position, which is a chain of custody and constitutional breakdown. From a Friedman-style analysis, the issue is not aliens per se. It is who controls classified reality. The U.S. Constitution's vests authority over national defense and foreign intelligence in civilian leadership. If UAP-related materials exist, they represent a non-human or advanced non-adversarial technology. I'm not going to say that, or human adversarial for that matter. And they are controlled by unelected military intelligence contractor compartments. Then the constitutional chain of command is already broken.
Right.
This is not conjecture. Friedman repeatedly demonstrated that presidents, including Truman, Eisenhower, and Carter, were selectively briefed or actively blocked. Classification was used not for national security, but for institutional insulation. Private aerospace contractors function as legal black holes beyond FOIA or any kind of oversight. In such a system, elections become ceremonial with respect to the deepest national security truths. That is not democracy, Mike. What we're talking about here, it's managed civilian perception. And that's really ties into what we've been dealing with here in the United States and the world for that matter.
It's not a question of managed civilian perception at that point. It's a question of if our elected officials are not actually running the government, then who the hell is? That's something we have a right to know.
Well, it comes down to it's the military intelligence complex, or the intelligence military complex, however you want to put it. It's a part of the executive branch that is above our president. That's just freaking crazy.
You said it at the beginning of this. You said the classification of reality. You know, like there's people on this planet that are walking around right now, and they just simply don't understand this at all. That's not fair.
No. And do you think, Abe, that if people understood what was really going on the planet here besides humans and other stuff that was taking place, do you think that would change people's views potentially?
It would definitely change people's views. It would probably unmotivate them to do super crazy things like fight wars or, you know, like crazy crimes when, you know, there's the pursuit of the future and other species and our technological and whatever advancements that we, you know, like we're stuck right now in just this violent, chaotic loop of a military industrial complex where the only group of people that can get ahead are the people that are either in politics or that complex. It doesn't matter who you are on this planet. If you have something to do with those two categories, then you can move forward. Everybody else is just...
Right, but if you look at it, when it comes to the judicial branch of the government, all anybody has to say is national security, and the judicial backs off completely. They won't go ahead and exercise their oversight over this, which seems really concerning.
And it defeats the whole idea behind the Constitution of having three separate branches of government. That would be the point. It defeats that.
I agree with that. And I also think that if we're looking at it on a larger scale globally, we're defeating just like global laws of cooperation. There's just no reason for a lot of the wars that are taking place right now. And we could be moving past the wars. And I heard Elon Musk say, just like I read an article just like 2 nights ago, Elon was saying there's really no need for money. There's absolutely no need for money and people starving. We have the technology currently. If we could just implement this infrastructure to get it out to everybody, then we really wouldn't need it.
He was talking about AI, artificial intelligence. That's going to be able to take over a lot of the menial jobs that humans do today. He said once that happens, there's going to be a universal basic income that people will be able to pursue whatever they want to pursue and have the freedom to do it and not have to go to work. But that is not realistic anytime soon. It's not. But it's
that's because we're stuck in the limbo. We're stuck in the bullshit. Build the next fucking aircraft carrier and then go compete it. Russia's launching this new counter drone surveillance system that they got from China. All Ukraine is a test bed for the next weapon system. That's it.
Yeah. Well, one of the problems we've got going, Abe, is when now people want if you want to call it standard of living, to go ahead and work potentially. Now, remember, minimum wage jobs used to be for like high school students and other people. But in Seattle right now, we're reading as of January 1st, 2026, we're going to be at a minimum wage of $21.30. Give it a couple more years, you'll be at $30 a year. So saying, if you want to call it Elon Musk going ahead and saying about your robots coming in and taking over some menial labor jobs, it could be because just the overall cost of what's required for the minimums in a lot of these cities out there is just making restaurants and some businesses unviable.
I agree. I agree. Look at the Tesla truck thing, right? What's that thing called? Not the Cybertruck, the other thing, the big one that's already on the road in California and some other like Texas, replacing drivers, being more fuel efficient on the road, and it can run all night as opposed to a human driver that has to stop.
Have you seen what's going on in all the ports? All the ports are completely automated right now.
Yeah,
you used to have drivers moving the trucks around, operating the cranes.
That's a union. You just canceled the union right there. Imagine canceling the Baltimore port. Wow. That's a lot of jobs and a lot of people who have to go and their whole family has to get like a new skill set.
Yeah. It does. I know some friends of mine who are multiple generations of journeymen working in the ports, and now that whole line of their whole history is now gone. Andy, your hand is up.
Yeah, I'm going to say, look, here in the in the United Kingdom, in Wales, all the coal miners, not just Wales, but back in the 80s, all the coal miners and all of that industry's gone, and you had shipyards and everything. It's been completely decimated. Everyone's had to go and attempt to try and completely retrain. 100-year or more of knowledge and everything gone.
Yeah.
We move on, and unfortunately, people
are. War has already redefined warfare, right? And so the next war that pops off, the next major war, will have new technology, and that will be the cutting edge, crazy shit that we're not Terminator ready for.
But even if you look at what's going on, Andy, really quick, if you look at what's going on in the United Kingdom, you have Norway in the sea rights area that the United Kingdom controls. Norway is going and drilling for oil and selling it to the United Kingdom, selling them their own oil at a huge profit when the United Kingdom itself could be out there drilling it themselves.
Right. A good point.
Now we're going for solar power. We're going for solar power and wind power. Happy days. It's all green. Don't worry.
Yeah. It's going to get cold really quick.
Ed Miliband, he's got the right, we're all, fill the fields full of solar panels. I see it in my hobby as a metal detectorist. You've only got to drive out in the countryside here in the UK and see how many, solar panel farms there are. And, it doesn't matter that we're cloudy 90% of the time, and the wind's got to be blowing the right direction to power your windmills and your wind turbines. It's all happy days, don't worry.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, getting back to UFOs a little bit here, getting back to the Valet position, the control of meaning, not just hardware. Valet would push the analysis further and more disturbingly. Let's get into it. The danger is not merely the executive branch of the federal government lacks control. The danger is that the phenomenon itself may exploit human power structures. If UAPs are non-local, deceptive, which they are non-local, they are very deceptive, they are psychologically interactive, which they are, and historically adaptive to belief systems, then secrecy is not just political, it's actually structural. Valet's framing, a military intelligence elite, may believe they are containing the phenomenon when in fact they are participating in a feedback loop that rewards secrecy, punishes transparency, and destabilizes democratic institutions indirectly. In other words, the mini-intel dictatorship may not be fully sovereign either. They may be curators, not masters. Now, I know someone was on the show talking about this last night with regards to that our government is working with the non-human intelligence, or we've heard this before, they're working with the non-human intelligence to keep things quiet, but it sounds like they may just be the lack of military intelligence that are going along with it. They think they're doing something good when they're actually feeding the feedback loop coming from the non-human intelligence.
That could be the case, and it's a frightening prospect if that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But then, how are they keeping this all secret? How is it that there's a government that's running that we have no knowledge of, that has all the strings, all the power, and they continue to do it? Oh, I know. One of the ways they're doing it is with our tax dollars. It's our money that they're using, and we don't know who they are or what they're doing or what their agenda is, but they're using all of our hard-earned cash. That's a problem.
Yeah. Now, getting into this, Mike, along those lines, if the public elects leaders who cannot disclose what they know and leaders cannot access what exists, then consent of the government becomes theatrical. This is not a coup in the classical name. It's bureaucratic singularity, power so deeply buried that no actor can surface it without systemic collapse. Now, if UAPs really exist, independent of executive control, if knowledge is siloed across military, intelligence, and corporate domains, and if disclosure is governed by institutional self-preservation rather than public sovereignty, then yes, The United States functions as a managed democracy at the surface and a technocratic military custodial state beneath. I think this is completely on target, Mike.
Oh, this is making very good points, Thomas, that you and I have skirted around for years now. We've made similar points, but this puts it all together in one neat little package and really explains clearly what potentially could be going on.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's, as we've called it, going back to the start of Disclosure tonight, it's that fourth branch of government that's unelected, that's making these choices, making these decisions out of the control of the judiciary, the executive, or the legislative branches. But the thing is, Mike, we have to say all three branches, for the most part, have to be aware of this to a degree, and they're complicit with it. Either that or they're threatened with their life.
Well, yeah, they're told they'll be exposed to the Espionage Act and potentially face the death penalty. So, yeah, they're being threatened with death.
Oh, yeah.
That's a hell of a tool. I know.
Yeah. Now,
this is how they get away with it.
Yeah, and an interesting piece of that just seems kind of odd that it's out there. You know Jaime Maussan, right? He's been dealing with a whole bunch of different stuff. He had the little alien things from Mexico before. He's been dealing with the mummies down in Nazca and everywhere else. But lately, in the last week, he's come out in super support of Lou, and he's in top support of Carl Nell.
Right. I saw that video of his in Spanish. So, yeah, we can play this if you want for the audience.
Así como el potencial de disrupción.
Oh, I've got the
errores.
It's in Spanish, unfortunately, the one that I have.
Well, that's the one that's out there is in Spanish. That's the one I listen to.
So,
you know, yeah, it's interesting.
Well, I don't know Spanish, so I can't understand it.
Yeah, I have high school Spanish I'm working off of, so not easy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But you're right. Jaime Maussan is now supporting Carl Nell and Lou Elizondo.
I wonder how that's going to go with some of the podcasters that are out there who are against Lou Elizondo, but are totally in with Jaime Maussan. Do you think that's going to change their view of this? Because they're also in with Greer at the same time.
Right. That's true. So this would be something that Dr. Stephen Greer would not be happy to hear.
No,
obviously.
Not at all.
That's going to cause ripples with those people. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, I would imagine, sure. And besides, look, Jaime Maussan, like Dr. Stephen Greer, is not exactly known for his transparency and honesty.
But he does have a lot of people that follow him on a regular basis in Central and South America that really go along with everything that he says. So he does have some weight in the statements that he makes.
To a degree, because I've talked to the people that you just mentioned, some of them, the Spanish-speaking ones that are dealing directly with the Latin population that are exposed to Jaime Maussan. And I can tell you that they all know he's full of shit. They know that. They think some of the work that he's doing down with the mummies is interesting. They're interested to know what can be proven and what direction he's going in. But that being said, they still know that a lot of the claims that he makes are false. And that's the reality of it. We know that too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, Mike. It's something that's out there that we want to bring the truth out for. And, you know, I guess we need to get rid of the Greer versus Elizondo versus Greer camp. We all need to come together.
Can I just say something about Jaime, though? What I think is a positive for him?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
In Mexico, there's that machismo, right? I had a Mexican chief in the Navy, and everything was like blown out of proportion to get us all riled up to get us to accomplish that mission, right? And that's where I think that Jaime is filling that role for the UAP, UFO community in Mexico to fill that machismo role to get the attention, because without that machismo, it would just look like another American conspiracy. That's just my point.
Okay. Great points, Abe. I appreciate that completely, and it sounds pretty accurate. You know, I guess every particular area needs a particular voice that comes to the top that a lot of people look towards and listen to. Yeah, he's been doing this for a long time. He's had some hits and he's had way too many misses to count. A lot of misses. But just because someone tries to hit the ball 100 times, if they get 2 home runs and they miss 98 other shots, they still got 2 home runs.
Look at the movie Signs, right? And Merrill from Signs, he swung at everything, and that's Jaime, right?
Yeah.
And he when it counted in the movie Signs, it was a home run for the UFO topic, and that's what I think Jaime's going to hit one eventually.
Yeah. Absolutely. On that note, let's jump ahead a little bit further back to Christopher Sharp from the Liberation Times out of the United Kingdom. He has a great rag out there that covers a lot of stuff with the UAP going on, especially in the United States of America. Let's get into it. Christopher, basically with regards to Matt's tweet that came out 20 hours ago that Schumer's co-author, Senator Mike Rounds, doesn't know who killed their UAPDA, although we've heard it's coming from someone on Rounds' side. That would be Senator Feinstein's, not Feinstein's, what was her name again?
Oh, you're talking about Senator Susan?
Yes.
Yeah, she's the chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee. Yeah,
yes.
That's the one. And they don't have a clue of what's going on.
Susan Collins, was that who you were on about?
Yeah,
Collins,
Susan Collins.
That's the one. We talked about her last night.
Not Susan Blasey Ford, but Susan Collins, yes.
Correct.
Yeah, who's funded by Lockheed Martin in her campaign funds.
Not a good sign, Andy.
Yeah. Now,
Nope.
Go ahead, Andy. Okay.
Oh, he finished with Happy Days.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I finished.
moving on. Someone responding to this is someone I believe was part of the intelligence community, Mike, by the name of Condor Man, who's been quiet for a while.
He has.
But he came out and he said, flat out, there's been a full court press to shut all of this down. Putting the genie back in the bottle we're talking about, folks. My old contacts just shake their heads or say, don't ask about this stuff. It's worse than when Jake Sullivan shut it down after the Alaska object was down. Remember, Mike, when we had the 3 objects that were shut down, one in Dead Horse, Alaska. The next one we had was in the Yukon up in Canada. The next one they were going for in the shoot down was going to happen over Maelstrom Air Force Base, where we have a bunch of our nukes. But on the next day, they shot it down over Lake Huron. Jake Sullivan was put to the head of a task force coming from the president in the executive branch. It seems like they may have done that on their own without even Biden being aware, to go ahead and actually research and figure out what was going on. And they were going to bring out the truth about those things they brought down. And what did they bring out? Jack shit. So with that note saying that, his contacts within the IC tell them, don't ask about this stuff. Meaning disclosure coming from those inside the government, like we talked about earlier, Mike, for the most part has been shut down. Again, shoving that genie back in the bottle again.
Right. They've shut this all down. This has been on the downward spiral since Grusch testified July 26, 2023. We haven't made any real headway from then to now, and it's continuing to get quieter and quieter.
Yep.
I know. You and I talk about this every day, and it's not getting any better.
Just jump in, Andy. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's no surprise really. It's gone deadly silent. You've only got, and that's the problem we're fighting with the general public. How big a story this was at the time. It was in international news. All the shoot downs. The first time that anything has been shot down, in air to air combat in America, basically, since never. And 5 minutes later, the news cycles rolled on, and we are really fighting against the general public. But as Thomas has rightly said, that everybody is too focused on looking at their phones and looking down at the ground. Once that news cycle's moved on, that's it. Wait for the next news cycle, whatever it is. I don't know. I really don't know how we're gonna break that cycle with the general public. Literally a day or two after, we'll move on to, I don't know, there's been, an unfortunate shooting, or there's, Auntie Mabel's cat's got stuck up the tree or whatever have you. And yeah, it's all forgotten about. So it's easy for those who want to shut it down to do that.
Yeah.
Because people are fickle, and people, their mind, their mindset is 5 minutes later, oh, we're on to something else. Oh, look at those pretty lights. Yeah. Or it's, I really can't, I don't know how we're ever gonna win, to be honest. I'm not completely demoralized, by the way, but I just don't see amongst, we can talk till we're blue in the face of everyone in here. We're all believers in the same subject, but your general public, we're not going to break them.
Yeah. Now, coming out, one of the people responding on X saying, "Who's doing the full court press? Administration officials, political appointees, or career personnel?" Condor Man comes back and says, "Not sure. My guess is Pentagon brass." But Mike, it's not just the Pentagon who's pushing back on this. We're talking about the executive branch and that fourth part of the government that is pushing back on bringing any truth forward.
Right. It isn't one individual or one branch of the government that's involved in this, and it isn't even just branches of the government that are involved in this. We have private contractors, military-industrial complex, and this sounds like what we've covered time and time again here on the show. It's what President Eisenhower, in his farewell speech, said in 1960, of what we need to look out for. It was the military-industrial complex, was it not, Thomas?
Yeah, it was, my friend. That's what he warned us about completely.
Right. And that was 65 years ago.
At least.
Right. And nothing has changed from then to now, but it seems like we've gone deeper down the rabbit hole living with that issue going on all around us in this country.
Yeah, it seems to be, Mike.
Yeah, it does. And it's not a good thing. So then the question would be, what is it going to take to break that? I think we're going to need disclosure, catastrophic disclosure on this topic. Because if we get that, and it isn't about the aliens or the craft at that point, it's more about what's really been going on all around us without our knowledge or consent. And at that point, we would have to do something about it.
So, Mike,
yeah.
a threat of something would be is that what you're saying, to keep the attention of the public to move the ball forward?
I think any kind of real information, not just a threat coming forward to let us know we're not alone. There are things here, whether they're friendly or not friendly, neither way, that's what we need. We actually need catastrophic disclosure and real hard evidence that can't be disputed that shows what's going on in our skies. Whether it's positive or negative, it'll...
World leaders, who can say anything that anybody's going to believe and make the collective species of the humans, you know what I mean? So if it ain't Russia, China, or United States top leader saying it, then who's going to believe it?
Imagine you get Russia comes out and they drop a tranche of information, right? Then you get China that comes out and they drop a tranche of information. It's up to you, U.S. Are you going to follow along, or are you just going to go ahead and put your head in the sand like they do in Australia?
Is that cooperation, or is that another form of Cold Warfare?
No, I would think it'd be in a way of narrative control, because the United States has worked so hard for so long to cover up the truth. If someone else brings it out, we could launch stuff to go against it. But if enough information comes out, there's no way of stopping it. It's like having the UFO come and land on the lawn of the White House. Cameras blazing, you can't stop it. People are going to see it. Maybe that's what we need, really. Is that major event that happens that thousands, if not millions of people witness, that cannot be disputed.
Yeah, catastrophic disclosure. Hard proof to the public worldwide, the public at large, that it can't be disputed, and they know what they're looking at, and it's definitely not ours.
And the ones who could do it, Mike, are the non-human intelligence themselves.
Right.
If they wanted to.
The closest that we got to that was, I believe, the Phoenix Lights 20 years ago. And that was it. We got a demonstration of that.
Oh, we've got a
magnitude.
bunch of stuff since then. That's just one event that took place on one time. We need something bigger than that, honestly. We need something
we do.
multi-country, things that aren't just flying over at nighttime, things in the daytime that come down that actual people can relate to.
And look
But do
up
we-
and say, what the fuck is that? It's not out.
Or look at that. Holy shit. Abe?
Do we put on light shows for ants? I don't go outside and pop off fireworks for ants.
Depends on if they
Well-
see us as ants or something they've created for a reason, and
That's a
we're
good point.
providing a purpose for them.
That's a good point.
I think we're more than ants.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you there. I wholeheartedly agree with you 100% there.
I'd say we're at least
saying that
pigs.
But have we all heard that there's multiple species, right?
Yeah,
so
of
maybe
course.
to some we're ants, and maybe to some we're allies or food.
Yeah. You never know where it's all going to
Could be
go.
all of the above, Abe.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter. To answer your question, and once the truth would come out, catastrophic or not, the public would have no choice but to then question all of our respective governments that are in power and
Yeah.
authority over us and say, hey, this is here. You can see it too, like we can. You know about this. You lied to us about this. And now there's going to be a reckoning for that because the truth is out. What are you
That's
going to
what's
say?
keeping it.
What are you
And
going to do?
That's what's keeping us where we are right now. Is catastrophic loss of power globally. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well,
Well, it is.
wait till they come out and say they're giant 10-foot tall spiders, my friends. That would be the thing that nobody would want to see.
All the toilet paper will be gone.
Oh, yeah. In a heartbeat.
But what did they say when we covered the drone flap? Do you remember that the press secretary came out and at one point told all the people that were witnessing these objects, you're probably imagining it. And everybody got all pissed
I mean, John
off and
Kirby,
bent out
right?
of shape.
John Kirby came out and said
John
that.
Kirby.
That was
Yeah.
John Kirby.
Yeah. People were like, what the fuck is he talking about? What do you mean we're imagining it? It's here. They have video of it. No, we're not imagining it. It was just a real slap in everybody's face when he made that comment. Kirby.
Yeah.
So we need something like that again. And I'm sure they'll try the same shit. Oh, you're just imagining it. It's not really there. It looks like it's there.
Oh,
There's
like
so many narratives being built, though. That's what the really fucked up part is right? There's like 5 different narratives being built. So it's weird.
oh yeah.
But we would need something like that, an event like that, that they couldn't possibly dispute.
Oh,
no
Mike,
matter
and
how
I don't
hard
want
they
drones
tried.
flying around in the nighttime. I wanted a daytime, visible, structured craft coming down in multiple countries around the world simultaneously for humanity to understand what's going on. That's what we truly
What it
need.
would take. That's what it would take.
Yeah.
It would take an Independence Day type fucking thing. If it was good or bad, it would take an Independence Day type of
Yeah.
thing.
Absolutely.
But if something like that would have happened, my impression of that would be if they're doing a mass movement on a global scale, whatever the fuck they're doing here, and whatever they would be doing at that movement, I don't think it would be to help us.
Yeah.
I agree with you, and that would be shutting down stock markets, right? And that's what
Oh, yeah.
I don't
we're
think
going
that's gonna
back to the
happen, though.
fear. It's fear that's controlling the situation. At the end of the day, I really don't think it's like political bullshit. I honestly think it's fear.
Fear of the unknown.
That's what it is, Tom.
Yeah.
It's just too much. There's too many unknown unknowns, and nobody knows where to go with it.
Yes.
Even the fucking people at the highest echelon of this are like, it's not one person or one group. It would literally take everybody, and for everybody to be involved, it would take that fear, the acknowledgement of the fear, and the threat of if we don't shit or get off the pot, then we're fucked.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we already are, but that's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Got plenty of Avi Lube for that. But if we can,
Right.
you know, while Bill Clinton, Mike, has gotten tons of press from all of his cameos in the Epstein photos that are out there, his publicists are pushing back saying, oh, no, it's not about us. It's about Trump. No, it's about you, Bill. You're a naughty little boy. Even Hillary was in the pictures. But, you know, let's get back to the points on this one. Where am I going? Yes, we got Bill Clinton actually talking about UFOs. Bill Clinton, there are things flying around up there that we fully haven't identified yet, Mike, and I don't think he's talking about the Lolita Express heading to Epstein Island. He looked into UFOs as president, found nothing, or was he not read in the real truth? Or was he too busy up to no good on Epstein Island to care about UFOs? With all the recent UAP hearings, what do you think? Are they hiding? Let's take a look at this classic clip of Bill Clinton on Kelly and Ryan talking about this. Here we go.
Back with President Bill Clinton, James Patterson. All right, President Clinton, first things first before we move on. UFOs. You've been the president. You've seen all the info. Are they real?
You know, they've given us an idea for our next book.
Well, what do you know? What can you tell us?
The truth is that we've never proved one, but there are things flying around up there that we haven't fully identified yet.
Hold on.
And
what did he
keep in
say
mind,
again?
We haven't fully.
We've never approved one. Are there things up there flying around? And he said, the truth is we've never approved one. One what? One thing flying around up there? Or looking into it? Let's play this.
Things flying around up there that we haven't fully identified yet. And keep in mind, there are basically 1 billion galaxies in an ever-expanding universe. I mean, you can't even get your mind around the sheer number of things that are out there.
But you've seen this.
And
You've seen the data.
well, no one knows, but I think that the probability is that there's something you would call life somewhere else.
All right, and this is the...
Life somewhere else, not admitting that it's here already. Come on, SETI, this is your call to go ahead and keep your funding going.
This is book number 3.
Right, so this is jumping off point
book number
for the 3. Book. Breaking news.
Yeah.
You're a Rhodes Scholar. You know what's up there. What is it? Tell us right now. What is, do we need to protect ourselves? Should we be buying duct tape or anything?
No.
We need to protect ourselves from ourselves.
No, yeah.
Just grab your
We need to
earphone.
worry
No, buy toilet
We
paper.
need to worry about what Jim said. We need to get better at home.
Yes, right. No,
In our earthly home and in our American.
There we go. So even good old Bill giggles and laughs at the stigma, but he does try to get it across, but keeps it within a box. Eh, Mike?
It's the same box, if you remember, that former President Barack Obama used when he said publicly, there are things in our skies that fly around in ways that we're not aware of, and we don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Same thing Bill Clinton just said.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing.
Absolutely.
So they have the same playbook, it sounds like, all these former presidents. They're told to repeat the same words over and over again.
It seems to be that's all they are about to go ahead and say, Mike. Now, going ahead and taking the story of a little bit, our content a little bit of a twist for our friend in the back, Ed. Good to see you, my friend. I wanted to bring this up because he used to be a pilot on an A-10 Warthog. The U.S. Air Force A-10C Thunderbolt II Warthog close air support attacked an aircraft with the Flying Tigers on the 74th Fighter Squadron, prepared to take off last night from an air base in the Middle East for strikes against the Islamic State in Syria. Dubbed Operation Hawkeye. So we've heard a lot that they've been wanting to go ahead and take the A-10 Warthog out of service, but it sounds like they're keeping those birds up and flying in the sky.
Oh, because they pack one hell of a punch. And not only that, but I don't know if you're aware of this. I don't think the audience is, except for Ed, of course, that they designed that aircraft not just to be able to pack a punch, but it also is able to withstand a lot of heavy fire without coming down.
Oh, yeah.
It's a tough bird.
It's a beast.
So it is. It really,
it's a monster.
Is. And Ed flew them. He flew one of those.
Yeah.
So,
Our recliner in chief.
Take a punch and give one.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, they need to send that to Syria. It's going to really make an impact over there, I think.
Oh, yeah. Now, believe it or not, Mike, it's been 6 years. Happy birthday to the Space Force. They've been around and they've done something, I think. They used to employ Lou Elizondo.
Right. And David Grusch.
Oh, yeah. At one time, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, they've been around, and they were also the ones that made that announcement that we covered here repeatedly about reaching out to other governments to work with the UAP problem, because it's not just a United States issue. It's a global one, right, Thomas?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, my friend. It's something that's not here. It's evolving everyone on this planet. While we want to think it's just something we've got going here, it's all over the place. But if we take a look on the East Coast, this just was announced a couple days ago. It looks like Mike, New Jersey is poised to establish the nation's first state-funded UAP research center. While it's interesting to say the least, and they're going to be doing research, the people in Washington, it's not like they're going to be giving over information to let the research center in New Jersey know what's going on.
No, it's called, separation between federal government and state government. They're not going to share anything.
Yeah. Now, the legislation, New Jersey, appropriates $3.5 million total dollars across two distinct programs. The bill is the first to establish an air traffic controller loan redemption program for $1 million. It provides up to $100,000 in student loan forgiveness for over 4 years for controllers working at facilities serving in the New Jersey area, addressing the national air controller shortage. The second one is an aviation education grant program for New Jersey public institutions and for higher educations with 4 separate purposes: supporting the participation in federal UAS collegiate training initiative, supporting the establishment of Center for the Study of UAP, facilitating aviation administration degree programs, and encouraging participation in the FAA's traffic collegiate training programs initiative. Mike, it sounds like we've got something that sounds decent. One of the biggest issues we have going with pilots out there is you don't have the training, you don't have the safety meetings you should particularly have to let pilots know what they could be encountering in the skies, and more importantly, what to do if they have.
Right. At that point, they would be advised as to what to do when they make these types of encounters and have a clear-cut knowledge and understanding of what the appropriate policy and procedure is moving forward. But we don't have that on a federal scale. Seems like they haven't even implemented it yet in the state of New Jersey, but they're going to in 2026, right?
Yep, absolutely, Mike. Now, if we get up to one of our next stories we're going to get into, yes, 3i Atlas, Mike, has been around. Is it a UAP or ice ball, or intercenter visitor just did something that no one saw coming? Yes, it's still pulling off some tricks in the skies, folks. Whether you believe 3i Atlas is a UFO or a comet from another star system, it just dropped another cosmic bombshell. It's leaking water in a region of space where it shouldn't have been possible. Clearly, it is demonstrating properties that we're not used to. It's not a normal comet from the Oort cloud that we have in our solar system. It's something from someplace else. So guess what? It's going to behave differently. Now, scientists using NASA's Swift Observatory pointed out their ultraviolet telescope at it and caught a faint but undeniable signature of water known as hydroxyl gas. What's huge? Why? Because comets don't normally sweat water this far out from the sun. At nearly 3 times the Earth's distance from the sun, it should have been frozen solid, but instead it's pumping out water at 40 kilograms per second like a fire hose in space. The secret? Possibly sunlight hitting the tiny ice grains from its surface, releasing hidden layers of ancient ice. Basically, this thing is bleeding its cosmic history into the void. Every interstellar comet is a wild card. Oumuamua was dry. Boserov was full of carbon monoxide, and now Atlas is spewing water. We have 3 different interstellar objects, all behaving differently, Mike, but when it comes from a different solar system, should we be surprised?
No, not at all. This is something interstellar. It's something we haven't experienced before. We're not sure exactly what the makeup of it is or what else is out there outside of our solar system. So it doesn't surprise or shock me one bit, Thomas.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Now, as we come towards the end of the year, We always look forward to the Christmas and New Year's celebrations, especially those that happen with our friends over in Australia. But apparently, Australia, France, and Germany have now all canceled their New Year's celebrations.
Really?
It has all been canceled because the French government can no longer keep its citizens safe from radical Islamic terrorism. We are watching one of the most beautiful countries and cultures commit suicide. Wow.
That is a bold statement.
Been canceled because the French.
Yeah. I never thought we would see the fireworks in Australia canceled.
No. And not from a Muslim threat. That really doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me.
Depends on who they're bringing in, Mike.
Oh, well, but 3 countries are getting shut down because of this, Thomas. That's pretty fucking serious.
Australia, France. Well, France and Germany are overrun at this point. Let's be honest. Australia's got their problems as well.
But to the degree where they would shut down a New Year's celebration.
Well, if you bring in a radical population that is not coming in to, if you want to call it, become a part of the country that's there, and they're keeping all their values and all their practices. They're not there to, unite with their new country and call it their home. It's a catch-22 situation, unfortunately.
It sounds like a pretty ugly situation at this point.
Yeah.
It really does. This is what we're heading into for 2026, it sounds like. If that's true, then it looks like the upcoming new year is going to be a pretty shitty one for everybody.
Yeah, well,
that's not the case.
Europe, Australia, Canada, they've all got problems coming their way, Mike. It's just a situation. We're looking at a new era of silencing the public, throwing them in prison. Now, I believe now they can actually throw people in jail in the UK, and they can't even go ahead and submit an appeal for social media crimes against social media. You're describing a dictatorship, Thomas. Why would a democratic country like the UK start instituting such harsh? It sounds like it's an offshoot of China at this point. Rather than help the people assimilate into their country, they're encouraging them to stay separate. And if anybody does anything, they throw them in jail. Now, if you have a Christian pastor who gets out there and wants to preach in something like that, they'll take him and throw him in jail because it's offending some people. Yet the call to go ahead and pray 5 times a day in the Muslim community that's blasted over loudspeakers everywhere, right? That's okay to do. It's like they're taking the new people who are coming in and placing them up on a pedestal, and everybody else is below that. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it sounds like a country being run by the Taliban. Are they really blasting Muslim prayer bells 5 times a day and shutting the whole fucking country down? If that's the case, it's already.
Well, they're doing it in London. They're doing it in Birmingham. They're doing it in a lot of the major city centers across the UK.
It sounds like that country had collapsed then and is now under Muslim rule, which I find very hard to believe.
Yeah.
How could something like that happen even without a shot being fired? And how is it that the rest of the population of the UK, how are they okay with that? Andy, what are your
He's got to be careful.
I know that, but I'm just curious what his neighbors are saying about all this. Are they okay with it, Andy? They agree with it?
I don't talk to my neighbours, and yeah, I'm not saying anything, Mike. Love you the bits, mate, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I understand. I got you, mate. But this sounds pretty ugly to me. If they did this shit here in the United States, it would turn into a civil war overnight. I guarantee you shots would be fired.
Yeah. Well, they're even going and demonizing the Reform Party that they've got in the UK at this point. They've gone ahead and, if you want to call the mass media in the UK, is now saying that the UK Reform Party is swimming in Russia money. Does that sound familiar, Mike? It sounds like they're blaming it on Russia, just like they did with Trump. They're saying Nigel Farage's $9 million donor profits from Putin propaganda platform. That is just...
Well, Putin made a statement the other day publicly. And what he said is that if the EU, the European Union, and Russia were to work together, their combined GDP would be greater than that of the United States.
Correct.
And he put out an appeal. So he's looking to consolidate power with the EU and try to override the U.S.
Oh, in other words, if I were to take over Europe and merge it with Russia, we'd have a greater GDP than the United States.
Well, they would. They actually would. But he's appealing to the members of the EU for such a joint venture.
Yeah.
Now, considering what you just told me about what's going on in the UK, as wild as a proposal like that sounds now in 2025, and we're at the end of it, if we now move into 2026 and something like that was to be taken seriously, well, the world as we know it would change, and not for the better, in my opinion.
Now, one of the last things I heard this morning, Mike, coming out of the UK as well, is the UK is no longer going to release statistics on immigrant crime.
Oh, why not? Why wouldn't they?
It's Islamophobic to go ahead and release that, I think. It's not.
Oh, come on. Is that the excuse they're coming up with? I would think they could come up with something better than that. That's, listen, and I'm not joking when I say this. You are describing right now an ally of the U.S., another democratic government that seems to have been wholly taken over by the Muslim religion, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Maybe because we're here in the U.S., but from my perspective, how could a country be taken over that wholly and completely, and their own citizens are subject to jail if they resist?
Because it's sponsored by the host leadership. That's the problem.
Oh, that's a pretty big fucking problem.
Yeah. Well, they're not guaranteed they won't get reelected. And unfortunately, we're not going to see someone like Charles come forward to go ahead and demand that elections are held. Although he technically doesn't have the power, he could still voice his voice against something for all of his subjects, but he clearly isn't.
Well, there's a reason for that. Did you know that the royal family is completely subsidized by the British population with their tax dollars?
Well, they are to a degree, but also they have the most greatest land holdings in United Kingdom as well as in Canada and a lot of the different areas of the crown. So yes, they may be getting some money from the government, but the amount of physical holdings and cash that the crown actually holds from the monarchy is stupendous, right, Andy? They're the biggest landholder in the United Kingdom, I believe.
Yep. The royal family is, I believe it's the royal family and the Church of England are the two major landowners in the United Kingdom.
But Andy, aren't they also subsidized by the British population for their expenses? All the money goes to the royal family?
Well, there's different things. There's the Duchy of Cornwall, which was before King Charles became the king. He that's an actual company, and they've got farmland, and they produce crops, and they produce different, honeys and all different things that they sell. So that's an independent thing, but was what King Charles was involved with. They've got many other things, but yeah, we pay a percentage of the tax that the British people pay goes towards basically subsidising the royal family, upkeep of castles and royal homes. Yeah.
Which would be ridiculously expensive, but the British people are paying for it. That comes directly from, though, the British government. So what the point I'm trying to make is that if the royalty, if King Charles tried to intervene with the functioning of the English government, they hold the purse strings to the money that the royals receive. He wouldn't want to fuck around with that or cause a problem, because the first thing that the British government could do is halt those funds.
Oh, they wouldn't do that, though.
They're gonna remain silent. I don't think they're going to impose.
It'd be nice if they would say something, but yeah,
they won't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I just, what my
Please.
American friends need to remember, that unfortunately nowadays, back in prehistory, the king rode in front of his troops in battle, and he was just as likely to die as his peasant who was, firing a longbow or whatever have you. Unfortunately now, this has no longer happened for several centuries. So the king is just basically a ceremonial figurehead. He has no political power. He is technically, or he or the queen, whoever's the ruler at the time, is supposed to be politically independent. So they are not supposed to take sides with whichever government is sitting at the time. So, it's all very well saying, oh, King Charles could say, and, he technically has the power to dissolve Parliament, but again, he's the royal, the king or queen is just purely a figurehead.
Yeah.
He's mainly ceremonial.
Ceremonial, exactly.
But there's no political powers. So yeah, and Chromosome, another of my fellow Englishmen here. So yeah, I'm going to defer to him a minute.
Chromosome, go ahead.
Yeah, they can dissolve Parliament if the government asks him to. It's not the 1700s anymore. Keir Starmer quoted that not so long ago when Charles made a comment, and he said, "We tell you what to do. It's not the 1700s anymore." Basically, the royal family.
Kind of like what Keir Starmer is telling to the people of the UK. We tell you what to do.
In my honest opinion, from what I've, they are basically controlled by the Foreign Office, Buckingham Palace, in quotations marks, and the government.
Yeah.
So
But in Parliament,
we pay for everything else, pretty much. I mean, they might own a lot of land and buildings, but who pays for the upkeep of the buildings? There was a big, massive do ages ago, well, a few years ago, about income and things, and it was revealed that they were saying about tax and things. The Queen's income was $1.5 million.
And it just seems awfully one-sided against the people of the United Kingdom itself, who have been there historically for generations. And it seems like the interest of those who have, part of the culture and history of the United Kingdom are getting put to the back in preference of newcomers, unfortunately. Now, if I could just go ahead, Chromosome.
It's just theatre for the countries.
Yeah, absolutely. If we can, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, we used to make money from tourists because in the summer you get Americans and Japanese taking photographs. Can't really see them wanting to come over next summer.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if you want to call it, tourism in Europe has dropped, so in the UK, you just have to wonder why. It's not COVID.
Yeah, strange, isn't it?
Yeah, Australia as well. It's another problem. But apparently, the amount of tourists from China coming to Japan has drastically dropped. So if you want a good deal, go to Japan. The flights are cheap, and it's going to be a phenomenal stay. I've heard a couple people at work who have gone to Japan lately. They absolutely love it. Now, if I can get to pointing our little noses a little bit north of the border, we have Mark Carney saying, "My government will act." Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney vows to crack down on certain large American online platforms, declaring them as seas of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate in all its forms. Which large American platforms could he be referring to? Let's listen to what he has to say first. Here we go.
Large American online platforms have become seas of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate in all its forms. And they're being used by criminals to harm our children. my government will act. And today we're announcing our plan to fight crime, to protect Canadians, and to build communities that are safe, secure, and strong. A plan to make Canada secure, to make Canada strong.
Oh, in other words, Mike, it sounds like they're pushing for censorship and a lack of free speech because they're afraid that there's a sea of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate in all its forms on social media when people are just voicing their opinions. Is free speech a threat to democracy?
No, free speech seems to be a threat to these governments that have gotten woke. And you know the old saying in corporate America, get woke, go broke?
Yeah.
They're going to find that lesson out the hard way like we did over here. If any business that went to the full press court of going completely woke lost their value of their market share because the American people weren't going to pay for or fund companies that were pushing that down your throat. So if they're going to act like that, like the UK is now, and Canada is going to get to that point, it's going to be a big pushback against it because nobody wants to live like that. Nobody.
Well, we do have someone from Canada in the back. Michael Sokoloff, what do you think about Mark Carney's statements? Do you agree with them that free speech needs to be shut down and regulated?
Free speech needs to be shut down.
Or regulated heavily?
That, you see, this is the problem. It's a double-edged sword. And regardless of which side you're on with that, there's good and bad consequences for your actions. So they're going to get themselves into a political quagmire is what's going to happen. And years down the road, who knows, what this is going to produce.
It sounds like civil war to me, Michael. At one point, it could turn into that.
And who in Canada, and what kind of, and how do you picture Canada having a civil war? I mean, just to get to one province to another is over 1,000 kilometers.
Yeah. But I guess when they had all the issues going in Toronto, they found ways to shut down people's fundings, how to take their equipment and their trucks and go ahead and lock them up illegally.
The government, they can shut down anybody's bank account anytime they want.
Whether it's legal or not, they'll do it.
Well, it would have to be. They would have to go through the courts to get it done, but they'd get it done.
Yeah. Interesting. Thanks for your insight on that, Michael. This is one of the stories that was out there, and it's great to hear your insight as it's someone coming from Canada.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't trust that if I were you.
Trust? Oh, yeah, that's okay. Hey, you know what? I trust what you have to say, Michael. Everybody has a right to how they feel, and we appreciate your feedback.
Yeah.
Especially people living there and dealing with it.
Here's the thing: is Carney is a moderate conservative, and he's head of the Liberal Party.
He doesn't, but he doesn't sound like a conservative to me.
Oh, come on! Look at the policies that they've passed in the past 6 months.
That sounds like a heavy liberal government. It doesn't sound like conservative, honestly.
No, it's a lot of conservative. He's ignored the seniors. He's ignored.
That's not conservative, though.
He's ignored the seniors. He's ignored the low-income people. The Liberals would have probably given.
But they've also prioritized. Maybe they deprioritized the natives of Canada who are older and have there. But they've actually really highly prioritized newcomers to Canada. And that seems to be a headline in a lot of the press out there.
I mean, we always have, because we need immigration to grow this country. If we don't have immigration, we don't have people. You're not going to be able to get a McDonald's served to you in any.
Yeah. So all the coffee shops who are going out there and just purposely hiring newcomers, not people who are established in the country, that's a good practice.
The one thing I don't like is they don't. is when they hire people who can't really speak English very well. But if you hire somebody from the Philippines, and there's lots of Filipinos that come to Canada, they all speak English perfectly.
Yeah.
They understand the nuances. They because English is one of their official languages in the Philippines. And that's because of how the United States liberated them.
But even the Vietnamese who have all immigrated to the United States, they've all integrated with our society. They all pride themselves on being American citizens, on being able to speak English and stuff. So I guess it just comes down to the people who are coming in, whether they're willing to integrate to this society or remain in their own bastion in this new country.
You mean not getting involved with, like, you'll have
integration, meaning that I'm going to come, I'm going to learn the laws, I'm going to behave, I'm going to follow them, I'm going to learn the language, become a part of the active society that's already there. That's integration like we used to have in the United States.
Yeah, and that works well. But when you don't do that, that's when things start to go awry.
Yeah.
People get angry and they start blaming immigrants for all their woes, which is bullshit. But
just take it for honestly for what different things that are going on, and simple enough. Interesting. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Mike, great show today. Is there anything we haven't covered yet?
No, I think we covered a lot today.
Oh yeah,
it was a pretty packed show for today.
Oh yeah,
not bad.
Absolutely,
yeah, it was a fun conversation.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're shifting a little bit out of UFOs and talking about more world events because, tell you the truth, folks, what's going on right now in Disclosure is getting quieter and quieter as time goes on. So we've got a great audience. A lot of people like to get together. Disclosure tonight's going to be talking a lot about what's been going on in the shutdown of free speech in different countries around the world, in the United Kingdom, throughout Europe and Canada and other places, and just realize how the people are pushing back, what's going on, and bringing that disclosure to light, because free speech, Mike, is nothing to fool with.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Thomas. It is not. And it's not just about free speech. It's also about these different foreign countries and their populations. They have to deal with ridiculous cost of living increases that they can't afford, and their governments are the ones that are doing that. So we're going to discuss geopolitics, and we're going to tell our audience about what's going on around the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
It's an interesting conversation.
And really quick, I want to thank our friends who gave us a couple super chats tonight. We are a fan funder program. If you've hung out this long, you're still with us, you haven't jumped off the show, you haven't subscribed yet, do us a favor. Give us a subscribe. I'd love to have you as a regular. It'd help me a lot and to grow the show. More importantly, if you haven't given us a thumbs up, we'd appreciate that as well. Thanking some people from our super chats. We have Brennan England and Firefly. Thank you very much for your love and support of everything we do here at Disclosure tonight. Mike and everybody in the back, thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you for doing this. It was another great show tonight, Thomas.
Yeah. Thank you, my friend. And as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody, but
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. See you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.